So we realize, number one, the wrestling match is not against humans, so stop fighting people. It's not the folks you work with. It's not the folks you live with. Somebody behind the people. So you have to start on purpose thinking about that when something happens, that it is not the person. And so we have to understand that every time something happens, that doesn't mean you don't check people the way you're supposed to appropriately, but it means that you understand there's something behind them trying to get to you. Second thing we see, it's a wrestling match regarding certain strategic moves. It's moves. The enemy's after moves. He's looking to see where can he hold you. And then 3, we understand that some force is trying to pin us to the ground. The enemy doesn't want us walking around. He wants you flat on your back. He wants you down for the count. And number 3, I thought was interesting about the definition, the rules change based on the rank, whether you're an amateur or a professional. And they will try to provoke. They use this method of provoking us, accusing us, and causing us to use word curses against ourselves. That in order for the enemy to defeat us, he needs us to do it. Proverbs 12:6 says the words of the wicked are to wait for blood, but the mouth of the upright shall deliver them. That my mouth is a deliverer. Amen. So the enemy will try to get my mouth to put me in bondage rather than deliver me. So he does this by getting us to say things that he can capitalize on and bring to pass. He doesn't have dominion or authority on this earth, so he needs someone with authority to give him access. So the moment you speak something that's a word curse against your family, against your finances, against your health, against your life, the enemy now can come into the situation because of that particular word curse, and he could use that because he now has authority that you and I have given him, because our mouth is the deliverer, but our mouth also is what puts us in bondage. Deliverance actually is emancipation, free from the law of what bound you. You can be set free and go back to the thing. Made free and you're free from it. Emancipate, delivered, the law of that thing now cannot ever touch you again. Amen. It has no legal right to put you in bondage. We have authority. The best way to describe that is like a female police officer has authority. A 6'7" guy or 6'4" guy may have more power, but doesn't have authority over that, 5'2" police officer. Authority outranks power. The first thing that changes when you understand your authority is how you pray. Bible study anchors you. Bible study does what? Anchors you. Battles rank you. Now, here's how you know you're changing. Number 1, your hunger for God will start changing. You'll want more. There's something deeper. Just a sermon won't do. Just a song won't do. You're not interested in talent. You're not interested in somebody's ability to perform. You want something that's going to get past your mental part and touch a part of your spirit that's never been touched. Dissatisfied at the level you are. And you'll know this because people around you, and I mentioned this last week, will become uncomfortable with the level of anointing that you are carrying. That when the anointing comes on you, as it grows on you, that weight that's on you cannot be occupied or handled by certain people in your presence. So you think they're firing you from your job because they don't like you. It wasn't because you didn't fit in. They couldn't handle. They didn't know what to do with the weight of God that was carried by you. Some folks don't want you around. They don't invite you to the parties. They don't invite you places. It's not because they don't like you, but the weight of God that you're bringing, they don't want it around what they're getting ready to do. And so you're not invited. Don't take it personal. Third thing happens is your prayer begins to change. First level of prayer is the baby stage. That's where you just cry. Everybody here has been through that level when you first get saved. I had that level too. The unique thing about a baby stage, all you're doing is crying, and God's answering. Just like a baby. A baby cry, I want to be changed. The parents change the baby. Baby cry, I want to be fed. The parents feeds the baby. Pretty soon the baby starts to grow. Then you get from the baby stage to the believer stage, I call it. That's the, from crying to committed, a little bit more committed. A believer and you're growing, the committed type. Then what happens, you're screaming, but you're noticing prayers aren't being answered like they were when I was a baby praying. Because what God is doing as you're a believer now, you're growing, you've learned to ask God. So you're looking in the Word now, and you find out, oh, the Word says I can be healed. So you now start praying, and then God answers your prayer. The Word says I can be blessed. You start praying, and God starts answering your prayer. At some point, your level of commitment and dedication and devotion changes where you start seeing things. And you start hearing things. Amen. I'm talking about, you'll look at somebody and you'll think, wait a minute, that can't be. And you think something's wrong with you. And you look around and think, I saw something. Something ran by here. You think, okay, you let it go. Because you don't know what it is. You don't know what it is, you don't exercise it, you don't practice it. Just let it go. And what you ignore, ignores you. Now you went from crying to being committed to now you're going to the connected phase. And that's not a baby, that's not a believer growing, that's a bold believer connected to God. I call that covenant prayer. You're seeing more, you're hearing more. Now listen to me, when you start going to the third level, you pray less with words and you pray more or you talk more with your heart. If you want to know what prayer is, if you look at in Genesis, prayer is what God did with Adam and Eve. That is where prayer was established. He'd walk with them in fellowship with them. That was God's way of praying. He'd talk to you, you talk to him. He'd talk to you, you talk to him. Prayer changed after the fall of man, and man just starts shouting to God. And every now and then they listen and hear God talks. But God's original plan is always not to have man screaming stuff to him, but to fellowship with him. I don't need an hour prayer if God is with me all day talking to me, and I'm talking to him, and I'm talking to him, he's talking to me. When you get to the third level of prayer, you're not praying like you used to pray and asking God for anything. You are declaring and decreeing things.